Welcome to In Our Experience. I'm Nirel,
And I'm Amanda.
and today we're going to be talking a little bit about who we are, how we met, and why you should definitely listen to our podcast. Do you want to start off talking about how we met?
We met in college. We both went to Claremont McKenna, and I have a different memory of how we met. I remember us meeting in our social psychology class, but you have no memory of us being in the same classroom, apparently.
I do not.
We were in the same classroom, but my roommate during freshman year of college actually kind of introduced me to Norel because they were on the same orientation trip, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Norel can seem really guarded and like she doesn't want to talk to you, but she's actually really cool, so you should talk to her more." And we were on the same track team. So then I started talking to you, or you started talking to me.
She stalked me in the middle of the night, found me, and then coerced me into being her friend. Just kidding. So yeah, my memory of Amanda the first time that we met was her coming up to me and asking me at I think it was an ice cream social for like all of the freshmen if I wanted to go to dinner with her in the cafeteria. And we ended up going to dinner. Apparently I asked her if she liked having deep conversations, which is funny because now we're doing a podcast. And then from there on we became friends. We basically turned into each other. We lived together for 2 years. We were on the same track team, as Amanda mentioned. We worked together, and we're still best friends to this day.
Yeah, so after college, we also found out a lot of weird coincidences. Like, we lived 5 minutes from each other, but we never knew each other in high school. Our dads went to the same high school. Her aunt was on my dad's track team, etc., etc. We did different things after graduating. I went to law school. I'm now a lawyer, and Norel is in a PhD program in social welfare. And we decided that it would be fun to make a podcast because Norel wants to be a public academic, and I just want to rant about things. So here we are. It's going to be about self-improvement generally. Would you say that's correct, Norel?
Yes. And I think another thing is we're very complementary. We have different personalities. Even though we grew up in the same area, we have different opinions. So hopefully it'll be engaging for you all and that you'll be able to identify with at least one of us. So, on the topic of self improvement, I think today we're going to get started talking about motivation and how we are feeling less and less motivated over time. So, hopefully we'll be able to, in conversation with each other, get that back. So when we met, we both, I don't know that we identified that we were perfectionists with each other and that that was something that bonded us, but we definitely spent a lot of time studying together and obsessively editing in undergrad. So do you think that perfectionism is the same thing as procrastinating? Or do you think it's different? And why do you think people do it?
I think you can procrastinate because you're a perfectionist. I would do that sometimes. Like, just the idea of writing an essay sounded so daunting to me because I knew how much time I was going to spend editing it. I knew I was going to rewrite it and like just labor over it for hours and wait until the very last second before I submitted it as per usual. And so, yeah, I would just not want to start right away because I was like, oh my god, this is such a big project and it's gonna take so much time, and I just don't want to do it. I just want to like leave it for another day or two. And both of us would ask for extensions a lot as well. But I don't know. I think people procrastinate for a variety of reasons. Sometimes people just have trouble organizing their time. I think people who are afraid of failure tend to procrastinate more because it's easier to say, oh, well, I didn't even try, so I didn't fail, than like trying something and it not really turning out the way you wanted it to and then being disappointed in yourself.
That makes sense to me. I
Yeah.
mean, there are, of course, some people that just procrastinate because they want to party.
Yeah, we knew people
But
like that in
yes.
college.
Yes, I can extrapolate. In undergrad, I don't know how many times we did this, but I definitely did it, probably more than you. When we got a suggestion when you were writing an essay by an upperclassman to write one page, take a shot, write another page, take a shot, and then when the page was too blurry, then you would go out and party. I'm sure I did that numerous times. I think it's a great way to start getting stuff done. You know, they say the hardest thing to do is actually write a first draft, put pen to paper. So I feel like that probably helped.
Yeah, here we are telling people they should be alcoholics, I guess. But no.
Preferably not. A couple shots, then go out. Not a lifelong
Yeah,
project and commitment
yeah,
to
we're
alcohol,
not
that is.
we're not actually recommending that, but like it can be helpful sometimes to like, I don't know, reward yourself. Like give yourself little rewards for accomplishing small tasks, like a little treat. I don't know. I heard about one person who would eat a few M&Ms every time she read a page of a textbook or something like that, you know.
I heard that Obama ate 12 almonds per day.
What? Like that was his
You said it?
diet?
No, not just 12 almonds. But you said that you met a girl who had M&Ms after every couple of pages, right?
Yeah, something like
And
that.
I heard that Obama ate 12 almonds a night, which means that his little treat from for being president was a handful of almonds. You're welcome for that tidbit.
Where did you learn this?
I heard that from one of my friends.
12 almonds works, but yeah. I mean, I remember us talking about being perfectionists in college though, like, because I knew I was a perfectionist. Because I would like agonize over every little typo and put everything into Grammarly and stuff. But I was like, I feel like I was like, are you a perfectionist? And you were like, no, I don't think so, because I don't really care about typos and I don't really care about being neat or like organized. But when did you realize that you actually were a perfectionist?
I feel like it's not my natural inclination. It's just a combination of like where I grew up. It's like a learned behavior.
Oh.
But I feel like I wasn't a perfectionist growing up, like when I was young. And then living in Palo Alto kind of made me more focused on grades and like more anally retentive in general, like more type A. And so by the time I got to college, I was like compulsively editing and like super stressed about getting really good grades and whatnot. But then after I graduated, like in grad school, I feel like there's no way that I would be able to be in a PhD program and also be a perfectionist because there's just too much work. Like you just have to turn things in at a certain amount of time. Also, like the whole idea of being in a PhD program is to come up with things that don't already exist. So like you're trying to make something innovative or like make a new contribution to a field, like discover something new. And so there's no way to do that perfectly. Like you're not going to go into the program with this super original idea that like revolutionizes a field. So I'm really glad that I took some time off in between college and grad school, to be honest, for that very reason. Yeah. How did you know you were a perfectionist? Like, even as a tiny human?
I feel like it was pretty obvious. Like, I would get into some weird shit when I was a kid. I would like, if my paper, I mean, maybe this is OCD, I don't know. Or OCD tendencies, but I've never been diagnosed, so who knows? But I don't do this anymore also. But you know how the edges of your papers can like get wrinkly or like crumpled up, just like day-to-day wear and tear in a binder or whatever.
Hmm.
I'd be like, if the edges of my papers weren't super crisp and perfect, I would like literally take a ruler and put the ruler at the bottom of the paper and like draw a line with my pencil and like, cut the bottoms off. Sometimes I'd cut the corners off. I was insane, in other words.
Yeah.
I would like, what else would I do? I started getting really into whiteout. Um, If I like smeared ink, I would have a breakdown. No, I wouldn't actually have a breakdown, but I would. I mean, maybe a minor one.
You're like, unless
I would like put whiteout over whatever I'd written and rewrite it, and then sometimes the whiteout would get messed up, and then I'd have another breakdown. Um, what else did I do?
I remember in college, we had to buy this book for our American literature class. It was like this big, and it was like I feel like it was like $100. Like it was super expensive. Do you remember how? Or like $45. It was super expensive, and then you got water on it, and you threw the whole book away and bought a new one. You were just like, I can't. I was like, what?
I did do that. Yeah, something happened. I couldn't handle it. That's why I had to get ebooks in law school because I was like, I'm just gonna die if I have to like highlight these pages and like what if my highlighter slips and it looks messy and it's not a straight line and then I'll have another breakdown and so I couldn't do it. But anyway, that's just an example to show that perfectionism can be extremely debilitating.
I think it demonstrates the level of psychological support you need.
Okay, I don't do a lot of that stuff anymore. But oh yeah, I freaked out because there was a minor typo in my supplemental essay when I applied to college. I put like A instead of Anne, and I was like, they're not gonna accept me. They're gonna reject me. And my friend was literally like, you're recruited for a sport. Like you're on the track team. They told you you'd get in. I was like, no. This is just a bad look. I had so much time to proofread it, and there's a typo. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I had a typo in my email for the Common App. So I didn't get any responses from from any applications that I applied to. And so I was just sitting there waiting, like, hello, why have I gotten absolutely no college acceptances? And then the school that we went to, Claremont McKenna College, called me and was like, hey, you got in. We've seen that you haven't even like opened the email. And that's when I realized that indeed I had a typo. And so I had to individually call each of the colleges to see if I was accepted or denied. So that shows you the level of attention to detail I was working with.
Do you think that we ever complimented each other in that way? Like, did we help each other? Did you help me like loosen up, and did I help you like get your shit together?
I feel like I maybe helped you loosen up socially. I don't know if you loosened up academically per se. And then
Yeah.
I don't know if you I don't think you really helped me get my shit together. Do you think you did?
Well, we would like edit each other's papers, so we would study together, so I feel like we did help motivate each other to study and to
Hmm.
like write good essays because we were both really big overachievers when it came to our essays. Like, we would write double the length required, and it was ridiculous. And we would enable each other and spend all night writing our essays in the library, and then we would go insane and start running down the hallways and waving our blankets everywhere.
Indeed. Yeah, I think I'm kind of working with an organized chaos kind of method. Like I feel like I'm a little all over the place, but my shit is always together as well. Except for the one era semester when I turned into an insane person. In that case, you did not help me get my shit together. My shit was together. However, I was not thriving internally.
You were like more of a perfectionist than me that semester, I would say.
Yeah, I turned into a robot. I mean, I was just like, I don't know if I was a perfectionist per se, but I was locked in. Like, I was locked. I've never been locked more in my life, and I still haven't been locked since. But I was trying to make sure that I could study abroad, so I had to take, I think, 6 classes instead of 4. And I had to like petition the school to let me take that number of classes. I mean, tragically, I did the same last quarter and was taking 8 instead of 4. But that's neither here nor there. And by the way, that was a grave error and mistake. And I should have never been allowed to do such. But in undergrad, I was taking extra classes. And so I basically cut out like all social interactions. I was nocturnal. I literally went to class at 1 p.m. And then I would like do my work, like not schoolwork, but work. And then I would go to my other job, which was like working at one of the cafes as a dishwasher. And then I would go lift in the morning at 7 a.m. after doing homework all night. And then I would fall asleep from like dinner at breakfast time. I would fall asleep from like breakfast time at 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. when I would go to class. So I turned into a robot, cut out all social interactions, went insane by the end, couldn't distinguish between real and fake, would have to call my sister to know if something happened or not, literally was actively engaged in delirium. But I did have my best GPA ever of my entire life that year. I, however, vowed to never do it again. And I will say, this past year, where I had 8 classes instead of 4, I just didn't turn things in. Like when I was before, when I was on that vibe, I was just super locked in and like cut out everything and was motivated. But this time, I just failed. I didn't fail. I just didn't turn things in. Like there was one class that I only turned in the first assignment and the last assignment in on time. The rest of the assignments I just turned in late for the entire class.
So, what do you think changed between college and now, and which do you prefer?
I just stopped being a perfectionist. And I prefer the way that I am now because I didn't go insane and like become extremely burnt out and have to cut out all social interactions. But I think I'm still struggling with like how to be motivated and how to be locked in to the goals that I have now when I'm not fueled by that like maladaptive part that's like low mental health. So if you have any suggestions on that, Melly, please feel free to state because I am suffering. Every day I say I'm going to be locked in, and every day I'm not.
I feel like it's like a common thing with people who have struggled with mental health issues, where you feel like if you're not depressed or if you're not anxious, you're just going to become complacent and you're not going to try hard enough anymore, and you're going to lose like that special spark that made you who you are and that made you such an overachiever and that made you accomplish all these things. But I think it helps to realize that your self-worth doesn't come from your accomplishments. Um, because I feel like if you start to gravitate toward like what you actually love doing and what you're passionate about, then you'll be motivated no matter what. Whereas like if your only motivation is to get an award or to get praise or to get a good grade to meet other people's expectations, then it's easier to get burnt out in my
Have you heard this
experiences.
thing about the difference between like process goals, outcome goals, and like achievement goals? I was just hearing about it in a podcast. I'm not sure which one, but it was talking about it in terms of fitness, but I was trying to graft it onto career. And I wonder like which one you feel like you have. But anyway, apparently achievement goals are like, oh, I won nationals. Or like, oh, I set a new record. And then outcome goals are like, oh, I'm improving every day. Like I have my PR, whatever. But you didn't necessarily like win the whole thing. And then process goals are like, I show up to every workout and like work out as hard as I can. Or like I maintain my nutrition plan for like a certain number of weeks leading up to nationals. Do you feel like you have one of those?
I feel like in the past I've definitely been too like focused on reaching the destination or like getting what I've set out to achieve. Because, like, in track, I was always like, I was never happy unless I set a personal record or I won. And I think that actually, like, made me perform worse sometimes because I was so fixated on like getting a certain outcome that I didn't just like execute what I had been practicing. And that's something, like a piece of advice that someone once gave me, is to just like be normal in competition. Like just do what you've been practicing the whole season and it will all come together. So I think like it's easier for me to kind of like make my goals a bit less lofty on a day-to-day basis. Like what you were saying, just say, oh, well, I did this better than last time, or like I took like one step in the right direction. Um, and I try to like compare my performance, at least in track, to how I was doing at that same time the year prior, and I think that helped.
Mm.
Yeah, you just have to like put things into perspective. Like I struggle with impatience a lot of the time too. Like I'm just like, can I just get this already? Like, can this just work out for me? I'm tired of sitting around and like putting in these, like putting in all this time and this effort and then like not seeing the reward. But I think you just have to like fall in love with the journey or whatever.
And have you fallen in love with the
Um,
journey of becoming an entertainment lawyer?
I'm working on it. But I think it's also really helpful to know like how you're best motivated. So like we were talking about, some people are more motivated by tough love, other people are more motivated by encouragement. We saw like those differences on our track team, and I've seen it like in the workplace and at school as well. I don't know. And I think some people are more motivated by goals and some people are more motivated by people. So do you think that you're more motivated by goals or people?
I think I'm more motivated by people and like feelings and getting to have certain feelings. Like one of my friends was asking me recently, "Oh, how did you figure out? I feel like you've always had clarity on like what sort of career you want to have, what sort of things you're passionate about. Like how do you figure those things out?" And I was telling her that one of the things that I had done is think about like what I want my life to look like, but not in terms of like this particular job or like the day to day, but more so the emotions. So I know that I want to be busy doing things I like, and when I picture like my future, I picture me like getting up and being like, oh shit, like timer's going off, alarm's going off, and like grabbing my stuff and running out of the door. Like I like being busy and having to like get up and get out. So I know I don't want to have a job that's fully remote. I know I don't want to have a job that like is mundane. I mean, people usually don't want to have jobs that are mundane, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't want a job that's super routine that I'm just clocking in and clocking out. I want to be like go 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 zip zip zip. And I know that I want to like come home to people that love me. So I need to be able to come home. Like I can't already be home. Um, and I need to either like have roommates or live in a community that I really like or have a family and stuff like that. So I was telling her maybe you should do something, related to that. Or like I know that I can't live in a super rural area because how am I going to be busy doing things I like when there's nothing to busily do? Or I know that I want to have a job where when people ask like, "Oh, what do you do?" and I say it, they're like, "Oh, wow, cool, really?" They're not just like, "Oh." So I know I can't, have some sort of job that is commonly seen perhaps as immoral, like consulting for a defense company or something like that, you know? So if you picture the emotions, or for me, when I picture the emotions, I'm like motivated by that. And I've also said numerous times, I'm highly motivated by men. I try to use that to my own benefit. Um, so for example, if I'm like with self growth things after my last relationship, I was like, oh Lord, like if I clearly something's wrong about how I keep doing relationships, not necessarily because of like that person or our dynamic or whatever, but I was like, something about me is off. Like I need to get control of how much I'm drinking. I need to figure out what the fuck is going on with my mental health. And so that really inspired me because I'm like, I know I want to have a better relationship in the future. I know I want to get married eventually. Like, what do I have to change about myself in order to make that a reality? And so I feel like, yeah, I'm highly motivated by that. What about you? People or goals?
Um, I feel like I'm also motivated by people because I remember thinking like in college we both had this professor that we really liked and he was super great about just being emotionally supportive in addition to
Mm-hmm.
like intellectually stimulating. And I feel like that combination was so ideal for me because I was like, wow, I can really connect with this person on a personal level. So, like, I want to produce work that he finds interesting and that we can discuss. And um, I want to, like, have good conversations with him. So that was really motivating. Um, and I feel like I can do a job with people that I like, even if I don't necessarily like the job, I can still enjoy it because I'm like working with people that I enjoy being around and people that I
Mm-hmm.
respect. Whereas, like, even if I'm doing something that I enjoy, if I'm working with people I don't like, it just makes it so hard for me, I think. Um, and I've always liked studying with other people. I felt like in law school, everyone was just off by themselves. People could be really competitive with each other because we were all ranked against each other, and I found that to be really sad and depressing and isolating. And I was just like, I just want to like collaborate and like learn from other people and like talk while I do my work. I don't know if that's always realistic, but yeah, I don't know. I think that people make a huge difference generally. And in terms of like being motivated by tough love or encouragement, um, I always prefer encouragement. Like, I need to feel like people are supporting me, or at least I like to feel like people are supporting me, um, because I'm already very critical of myself. So it's nice to have people around you who are inspirational. Like, I enjoy surrounding myself with people who I think are really smart or who have qualities that I want to emulate because
Mm-hmm.
I think that helps me like look at myself and think, oh, like I could improve this aspect of, how I'm doing things. I can be more like them, or, you know, even the person that I'm thinking of could also like learn more from me as well
Mm-hmm.
in certain ways.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I feel the same way. I mean, I was listening to a podcast and it was talking about how I'm sure I could find like the study, the academic as well, but it was talking about how if you are with three people that are like better performers, like if you're around three people that are better performers or something, it increases your like productivity and your like insights, whatever, by 30%. But if you are around three people that are like lower performers, it decreases you by 60%. So basically, like you have to offset the number of, if you're around one dud, you have to offset that by being around like two ideal people and so on and so forth. And so it's relevant to like remember or consider, even if someone's like meh, but you're just kind of like, oh, they asked me, they asked me if I want to hang out, so I'm just going to study with them or I'm just going to hang out. Like you have to offset that with two hangout sessions with people that are actually productive in order to just get back to baseline. Not to mention to get above and like be a higher performer. So I think about that sometimes, like sometimes recently, especially recently, because I've been trying to be more productive because I have more like goals and things that I want to do quicker if possible because Melly, this is a bit of an aside, but I was actually thinking about trying to compete in a competition that's health and fitness. Like it's Miss America or like Miss California, but it's the health and fitness category. And you have to be between 18 and 28. And I'm turning 27. this year. So I literally only would have 1 year to do it. And I panicked. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? We're getting old. All of our goals are slipping away before our very eyes. Like blah, 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 blah. So anyway, I've been trying to think a lot more about who I'm surrounding myself with. No need for a dud.
No need for a dud. I feel like some people can like such they can just they're just dead weight. Like
Yeah.
they drag you down. Being around them is draining. There's nothing about them that is motivating. In fact, they have bad habits and then
Hmm.
you're exposing yourself to someone who has bad habits and someone who like doesn't know how to take care of themselves or accomplish what they want to accomplish. And I think that's just like an important thing to consider because like who you date and who you're friends with, I think it really matters. So,
I
but
agree.
you you think that bullying is sometimes okay, so I think that we should talk about that.
I think that bullying is okay, and I think we should bring it back. I'm an advocate for the old bully bull, and I think that specifically when it comes to motivation, I mean, I think shaming people into doing things like being like, "Oh, you're a fat fuck," blah blah blah, is not really ideal case scenario. I feel like studies have come out that have literally shown that's a bad way to motivate most people at the very least. But I think that for me, there have been different eras where I've required different levels of motivation. So in college, I remember specifically saying to our coach that he needed to treat me like I was a girl. I was like, "You're yelling at me like you're some sort of football coach. I'm a chick. Like you need to emotionally support me. Be like, you can do it, not be like, you got to come here to compete, like blah blah blah. Why aren't you taking this seriously?" It's like, whoa, relax. So I specifically remember in undergrad that I used to feel that way, but now I'm in a different era of my life where I feel like I need a swift kick in the arse and nobody's supporting me. So there are people, I think, because I'm in a social work program and because there's like a focus, especially within women, I would guess, on like balance and like self care, healthy coping and all of that. When I ask people support for like, I need you to tell me to get up even if I'm tired because I need to do this thing in order to be able to complete my goals, people are like, no, I think your body probably just needed the rest. I don't know. And I'm just like, that's not helpful. Like, I need the football coach that's going to be like, go until you throw up, which is the bully mentality. And I feel like there are some people that just need that in general. I mean, for me, it's been different eras, but I think specifically for a lot of men, but also for a lot of people that grew up with that, either like their fathers are like that or they played football or something like that, they're used to that kind of support. I don't know. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I guess sometimes I feel like I want people to be stricter with me. Like
Hmm.
I live at home right now and sometimes I it's like a constant battle of trying to wake up early because I'm just really not a morning person, but I need to wake up earlier to be more productive because I have so many things going on now. I have two part-time jobs and volunteering and I'm trying to do this podcast. And so I need to wake up earlier. And I feel like sometimes I sleep in and I'm just like complaining to my mom and she's like, "But you needed the sleep. Like
Hmm.
you're tired." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"I can't afford to be tired." Like sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes I have trouble pushing myself in certain ways and so then it's helpful to be like around people who can suffer a little bit of pain in order to get something done because sometimes you need to do that.
Hmm.
But like on the track team, I hated being yelled at and I hate being yelled at in general. So that does not work for me. Um but some coaches and some people can really master that balance between like having high standards for you and also being supportive. And I think that's what works best. Like, I don't want someone to just like be easy on me all the time. And I don't want someone to enable me and to make excuses for me, but I also
Hmm.
don't want someone to, not ever empathize with me and not treat me like a real person. Like, we had some coaches and people that we knew who just sort of looked at us like we were point scoring machines, or
Hmm.
teachers who just like, lectured and wanted to read good essays, but they didn't really like engage with us as like actual human beings who had opinions that mattered and like interesting histories. So being able to achieve that balance is important, I think.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is, though, what it means to be supportive changes. Like, everybody wants to be supported, but supported doesn't always mean that balance, or it doesn't always mean being empathetic. Like, I feel like right now, I feel most supported by people that are like, yes, like, you have emotions, but you still need to follow the plan. And we can either deal with those emotions later, or like you can journal it out and keep going. Like, you have 30 minutes, here's a timer. Like, feel your feelings and then let's go. And that feels supportive for me right now. But people aren't giving me that kind of support because their perception is that that's not supportive. So maybe I just need to be around more hard asses.
Yeah, maybe. Or just like communicate the way that you want to be supported. I
Hmm.
don't know. Like when I was studying for the bar, I had gone through a breakup and like had some friend issues and I really had to put it aside to study and to prepare for the exam. Like I couldn't just be crying all the time or like
Hmm.
venting, you know. And so like if I had just been surrounded by people who were like, "No, don't study. Just talk to me." Like blah blah blah, like that wouldn't have been super helpful, but at the same time, you don't want to just be isolated with no one to talk to about anything you're going through. So,
Yeah, I think that sometimes you have to kickstart it by yourself. Like, I think I've been looking for a lot of support to work with someone else or like encourage me to do this or that. But if I'm waking up at like dark 30, like 5 a.m., and convincing myself to go to the gym before I have to go to class or like before I do grading, I sometimes you just have to do that by yourself. And then eventually maybe you'll meet people that are more supportive in the way that you want because they're the people that you meet at the gym at 5 a.m. who are also there. Or they're the people that you meet in the library like late at night. And you start seeing the same people over and over because you're always there until closing. So maybe at the beginning you have to start that, but then eventually you end up meeting the friends that are more in that mindset.
yeah, that's true. Like you can't just rely on luck because you can't control other people. So you do have to like seek people out who you think would be a good influence on you by
Hmm.
doing the things you enjoy and just by being discerning and like understanding what kind of person you're dealing with, I guess.
Hmm. I also know that I'm not motivated by collective outrage or collective grief, which is one of the reasons why I got off social media, especially in 2020, because I feel like one of the main reasons I got off social media is I felt like it was making my politics bad. Like, way too many people had opinions on different things, where I feel like trying to convince me to care about things that I didn't already naturally care about. Like, oh, you should focus on disabled rights or something. And I'm like, okay, I think they should have rights, but like, no. And so I feel like at the time, though, I was getting convinced, like Ukraine, for example, like, don't care at all. Didn't then, don't now. And so it was kind of the collective outrage about things was pressuring me. I felt pressured internally to like look up things or like care about this or that, get educated. People are saying, get educated. And I shut down. And I feel like that's the opposite of what they're trying to get you to do. And so I think that the only time that I've really changed my opinions on anything, like for a long period of time, has been because somebody that I really cared about had a different opinion and I listened to them and proceeded on. It hasn't been because I just was educated about something or because someone was screaming at me to care. And I think it took me a while to realize that, but I'm really glad that I got out of the cultier side of the left that I feel like is really committed to that.
But what about if like you can't be exposed to people who have different viewpoints? Then what
Move.
do you do? But you wouldn't be motivated to move if like you aren't open to hearing other people's viewpoints.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like I was kind of in that more like just generally liberal, progressive, leaning like more radically left mindset, especially when I was in high school because of how I grew up, who I am as a person, etc. My family, I'm obviously black and a woman. So I feel like that makes you a more radical person usually because there are just a lot of things going in society that you feel like are stacked against you. You learn about it from so young. Like when I was in third grade, I literally decided that I wanted to be the Martin Luther King Jr. of education. And I feel like I'm still really passionate about social change and I'm literally in education, like planning on going into academia. So even though I'm not going to be Martin Luther King and don't plan on getting murdered, I still am like passionate about education and social change and volunteering and whatnot. But I decided that at third grade. And I feel like at third grade, a lot of people that aren't like black women aren't thinking about those sort of things. But I digress. I moved from the Bay Area to Texas. And then when I moved back, I feel like I became a lot more of an independent thinker or critical thinker. And I feel like that's because I was exposed to so many people that I cared about, whether it's friends or like people that I were dating that had different opinions. And because I cared about them, I was actually open to listening to it. So I don't know. I guess the only other way would be to listen to podcasts such as ours, but also others where you might not agree with everything that they have to say. Like I started listening to Joe Rogan. What an interesting chat. But he has a lot of people on his podcast as well that I don't necessarily agree with, but some of their points are interesting, you know? And I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I agree with this part, but not that part. Or I'd never considered this, but now I will. Greg Doucette is another person like that, where he has a lot of opinions on male female relations today. And some of it I'm like, don't love that for the collective. But some of it, I'm like, okay, interesting. I mean, I think my opinions on police, for example, have changed a bit from listening to Joseph of the Rogan variety. So, just to clarify,
But you really value novelty and like having new experiences, so I feel like that's helped expose you to different things. I
that's
don't think
true.
ever I don't think everyone's super interested in that. So not great for them, but
Yeah, I guess not everyone is open minded. I think I've always been open minded because I'm interested in novelty, but I haven't always been a critical thinker. I think academia doesn't necessarily enforce that on you, or I don't think academia necessarily imparts that on you. You can go through college and just be sort of spoon fed a certain ideology. And then it takes something else, whether it's your family or like having a specific experience, going to war, which is not a recommendation, etc., that causes you to like be a more critical thinker because it forces you to reconsider things. Do you consider yourself open minded?
I think I used to be more judgmental and maybe a little bit more self-righteous in terms of thinking that like the way I viewed things was correct, but I think I am pretty open-minded in general and I've become more open-minded over time. Because I've always been interested in like different cultures and people from different backgrounds, and I also like novelty and having new experiences. And as I become less shy and like more willing to put myself out there, I think I've had more interactions and tried new things. And so having those experiences has allowed me to like step outside of like the person that I used to be a bit more, and I realized like, oh, like maybe I'm different than I thought, or maybe I can empathize more with like this thing that this other person is going through because now I've experienced something similar.
Yeah, I would say you're a pretty open minded person as well. And I think, I mean, nothing against a self righteous person, to be honest. Like, I think that I can tolerate self righteousness a lot more than other people because I like activists. And a lot of activists are self righteous because you have to be so self assured that, like, this is the way that we're going to change the world and this is going to be great in order to actually be able to, like, put your life on the line for something. So, nothing against a self righteous prick, but it's not for me. I don't think it's my natural inclination. So, being a little more open minded now, do you feel like you've changed your look on like whether or not people who don't date specifically because they want to pursue their career are like their perspective is wrong. Because I feel like in college, you used to feel like people who refused to date but wanted to focus on their career were like in the wrong. Do
Well,
you agree with that?
I feel like part of the reason I felt that way was because that was just a reason that my one of my relationships didn't work out, or at least from
So
my
you were
perspective.
bitter.
Yeah. No, I just felt like the person I was dating was like acting like he just needed to focus on his career and he just needed to like, I mean, I think this is a common thing that women hear a lot of the time. Like guys are just like, I just have a lot of other stuff going on. I just have to focus on my career. And it's like, hello, I'm ambitious. I have career goals. Like I can
Hmm.
still date and have friends. So maybe it was just an excuse, and maybe it's just an excuse that people use commonly. And it's not really a thing, because I think if you meet someone that you really like, you can work them into your life and still have a career and still be ambitious and still accomplish your goals. And I think that other people, like we were saying, can actually be very helpful in terms of motivating you to accomplish those goals. And people can like um, show you different perspectives, and they can show you different ways of looking at the world. And that can be really helpful in terms of evolving as a person yourself. So I don't really buy into that idea that like you can't be in a relationship because you have to focus on your career. I think like you can do whatever you want. Like if you really care, you're going to make time for it.
Hmm.
But I think there are times in your life where like you need to be more focused on accomplishing certain things. Like I can't just be like going out and partying every day and like, you know, swiping on dating apps for hours. Like obviously I don't have time for that. So
Hmm.
yeah, it just depends on like where you are in your life. But I think, yeah, everyone always has time for love, and I think you should make time for it.
I agree, but I also don't agree because I feel like it depends. So if you feel like that person can actually help you achieve that goal, either because you're complementary in some way, so like for example, us doing this, or like because you have the same scale of goals. So like they want to own a home, you want to own a home, you're starting a business with the attempt to get to that level. They're starting a business with the intent to get to that level also. And you guys are both going to be equal levels of busy. Like, yeah, that works. But I think if one person is kind of home picking their corns or like painting their nails, or like they have like a 9 to 5, but then they get off and they want to see you, but you don't, like that can become very difficult because I could feel like either they can draw you away from your goals, they can begin cutting you down. And I do think I do believe in the concept of right person, wrong time, and that you can meet someone that you'd be really compatible with and like really in love with, or you could see yourself like marrying them or whatever, but it's not a good time. And one of the reasons it cannot be a good time is because you're so focused on like getting your business off the ground. For example, you're working like 70-hour weeks, blah 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 blah. So I think at that time, I mean, you can try, but if you see it's not working, especially like in the first 3 months, I feel like it makes sense to be like, hey, I feel like this isn't a good time for me. I would love to be able to stay friends or like reconnect in the future, like leave that door open. And if you're single and I'm single at the same time, like, would you mind me hitting you back up? Now you run the risk of like not being with that person and losing that person, yeah. But it's just a matter of, are you okay with running the risk of missing out on one of the loves of your life to have the career that you want to have?
Yeah, I think it just depends on like how much you're willing to put up with. So like if you know that your partner is trying to accomplish something and they're really busy, either be understanding of that, or if that's not the kind of relationship you're looking for, then don't be in the relationship. So yeah, I think you have to make sacrifices if you want to be with the person. And so if you don't really care that much, then that's why people are like, oh, I care more about my career than being in this relationship at this time.
Hmm. And I do think that it can be easier to like incorporate someone into the life you have versus build a life with, like, specifically with building a business. Like, I think it can be easier to be like, oh, I'm a business owner. Like, I go and do this and that. I have these hours. I sell baked goods. Then, then it can be to be like, oh, I'm trying to get this business off the ground because you just have less time. I think. I don't know. I don't own a business. Maybe you have less time when you're successful.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what I don't agree with is like people who are just like, I can't date at all right
Hmm.
now because I'm trying to start a business. It's like the busiest people in the world still find time to date. Like, I can't have friends. I can't do anything social. I can't have fun because I'm trying to accomplish this goal. It's like you're still living a life and you should continue living a life and you shouldn't make that one goal all that you care about. Like, you should try to have a full balanced life because you could die tomorrow and then you wasted all this time on that stupid project and, you know, didn't explore other parts of life. But like if you're in a relationship and, you know, it's not helping you accomplish the goals that you need to accomplish, then that's a different situation, I think.
That makes sense to me.
Do you think that in the US people are too concerned with being productive all the time? Do you think we would benefit from being less motivated in some ways?
I think so. I think that in the US, people are very motivated, or people are very concerned with being productive, especially because a lot of things are tied to your job. Like when you meet someone, they'll ask, oh, what do you do for work? That's the first question. And I think the way that our society is structured, like you can be working any time of the day. Whereas I just went to Spain and I feel like it's a lot more restful, like at least in Valencia. Like people obviously go to work, but then there's time to like party and drink coffee and sit and eat, and things are open really late for you to be able to do something fun after you get off from work. I just feel like here there's more of an obsession with the grind. But then at the same time, listening to a podcast yesterday, and it was talking about how people actually here are a bit more anti wealth than they are in other places. So there will be people here that will say, eat the rich, or like we need to tax the 1%, or um these people, like there's no way to be wealthy without being exploitative. Wealth is inherently exploitative, etc. And so as a result, it's not like people aren't inspired to work hard, but people are kind of looked down on for being at a certain level of successful. Whereas apparently in other countries, I forget exactly where the guy was from that was speaking on his country, but he was saying like people are still really obsessed with like being successful and being super wealthy, and he feels like that's more of a thing outside of America that people are really encouraged to like pursue and grind. So what do you think?
Like, whether we're too focused on being productive?
In comparison to other countries?
I think we are in some ways because, yeah, like, I don't want my whole life to constantly be work. And like everyone always says, like on your deathbed, you're not going to be like, oh my God, I wish I worked more. Like, I wish I worked 9 hours a day instead of 8. I mean, you're going to think about like the things that you regretted not doing or the things, like the
Mm-hmm.
people that you love and the people who love you. And so I think it's important to realize that like life can be so much more than just like your accomplishments and being a good investment banker or, lawyer or professor or whatever. Like, that's just one part of life. And I think in the US, we have a tendency to make that our whole identity. And capitalism is a really big thing here, and making money is everyone's goal in one way or another. Maybe in other countries, because that's less emphasized, people think of it as like an interesting thing to accomplish, or like just something they don't see every day. Whereas I feel like it's so normalized here that now people are finding fault with it. And there is a lot of like problems that stem from having more wealth than you need, but yeah, I think it's just good to be a balanced person in general.
See, back to what I was saying. Everyone's all about balance these days. Um, there was a quote that I heard that I think is kind of relevant, which basically says that hard times create strong men. I mean, I'm assuming they mean both men and women. But hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And the person was basically saying that, like, for a while, it's been good times. And so we have a lot of people that are just like kind of stuck in a victim mindset. They don't really want to work hard. They more so complain about how the world is not fair than they do being like, okay, life is not fair, but like I have to figure it out. So what am I gonna do about it? Or what am I gonna do about my situation? Um and so good times have essentially created weak men. And then as a result, we're now going into hard times. I don't know if that's true or not, but it definitely feels like we're going into hard times. I'll say that.
Yeah, definitely feels like there are a lot of weak men out there. But yeah, no, I don't think that people should shy away from like suffering or hardship necessarily. I think like nothing good comes easy in a way. And so like we do have to work hard for what we want and make sacrifices, and life can't be balanced all the time. And that's just not really a realistic goal, because some days are just going to be more weighted heavily towards one thing than another. But I guess like it's an overall ideal that like I try to aspire to and
What's an
work
overall?
towards. Like having a balanced life and not being too focused on like one thing.
Yeah, I think I do too.
Okay. Well, do you have any more questions for me?
No. Do you have any more compliments for me?
Great job. First podcast episode. So until next time, I guess.
Yes. Until next time. Okay. Have good experiences.